Welcome back, music lovers. It's time for another exciting episode of Score Talk.
We're thrilled to continue our journey through basic melody harmonization.
Did you practice what we covered last time? Because today, we're taking it up a notch.
Indeed. We'll be exploring more advanced concepts and techniques in harmonization.
Let's review what we'll cover in this episode.
We'll continue working with these fundamental chords to solidify your understanding.
This time, we'll tackle melodies that contain more than one note from each chord.
We'll introduce simple accompaniment patterns to support our harmonized melodies.
Let's delve into some more nuanced aspects of harmonization.
When melody notes in a bar form intervals of third, fourth, fifth, or sixth, it's often possible to harmonize them with a single chord.
This is because these intervals are typically found within a single chord structure.
For instance, if your melody has C and E in the same bar, both can be harmonized with a C major chord.
This technique allows for smoother harmonies and can simplify your chord progressions. As we saw, sometimes it's impossible to avoid consecutive fifths or octaves, even when using contrary motion.
While we generally try to avoid these, there are times when they're unavoidable or even desirable.
In such cases, it's important to consider the overall musical context and effect.
Remember, rules in music are guidelines. Sometimes, breaking them can lead to interesting and unique sounds.
Now, let's introduce our next theme, before.
This theme is going to demonstrate what we just discussed about multiple notes per chord.
You'll notice that some bars contain multiple melody notes that belong to the same chord.
This gives us a chance to create richer harmonies while still using our basic 1, 4, and 5 chords.
Take note of the structure in before. There's a half cadence right in the middle.
This creates a nice sense of tension and anticipation halfway through the theme.
And did you notice how the melody ascends towards the end?
Yes, it's building up to that final resolution on the tonic. It gives a satisfying sense of closure.
Let's listen to it, as it is played by such an expressive oboe legato.
Not bad at all, my fellow composers.
Now, let's take a closer look at the harmonization, with our music box code for before.
You'll notice how we've arranged multiple melody notes under a single chord in almost all measures.
This is clearly visible in the code structure, where several notes share the same harmonic foundation.
It's fascinating to see how we can create a rich melody while maintaining a simple chord progression.
Now, pay close attention, up next, to this harmonization attempt for before.
Let's focus on the first half of before and its harmonization. We're using a common chord sequence here, 1, 4, 1, 5.
This progression creates a nice sense of movement, leading us to that half cadence. Notice how it gives a feeling of away and back home before leaving us hanging on the 5 chord.
Now, let's look at the second half of before. We're using another classic progression here, 1, 4, 5, 1.
This sequence provides a strong sense of resolution after the half cadence. It's like a musical journey. We set out, have an adventure, and then return home to the tonic.
Shall we have a listen, my friends? Now, let's look at a more interesting harmonization for our theme.
Instead of static chords, we've used broken chords in the accompaniment.
This is reflected in our music box code, where we use our style macro to specify melody in both left and right hands. You'll notice a more complex structure in the lower voices.
It's a great way to add movement and interest to our harmonization while maintaining the same chord structure.
And here's the actual score of what we just described. Let's have a listen.
Notice how the broken chord notes flow through the chord tones in each measure.
This creates a more dynamic and flowing accompaniment to our melody.
It's amazing how this simple change can transform the feel of the piece while keeping the harmonic structure intact.
Now it's time to explore something new and exciting.
We're going to look at another theme, but with some interesting differences.
This time, our theme is in a minor key, which will give it a distinct mood and character.
And we're switching things up rhythmically too. This theme is in a ternary time signature.
For this theme, we'll be using 2 different harmonization techniques.
First, we'll use block chords. That's when all parts of the chord are played simultaneously, as you know by now.
And then we'll introduce an arpeggio pattern.
It's like a repeating backdrop that adds texture and movement to our harmonization. You'll often hear this in various musical styles, from classical to pop.
Let's explore our new theme, B5, which has some intriguing features.
This minor key will give our theme a more somber and introspective mood.
The theme is divided into two distinct phrases.
We have half cadences at measure 4 and measure 8, creating tension and a sense of incompleteness.
This waltz-like time signature gives the theme a graceful, flowing quality.
The use of dotted notes adds rhythmic interest and prevents monotony.
Let's dive in and see how these elements come together to create a compelling musical statement. Wait. I noticed some interesting markings in the music box code for B5. What are those?
Those are articulation markings. They add nuance to how each note should be played.
Exactly. For instance, greater than indicates marcato, dot means staccato, and dash represents legato.
How clever. It's a concise way to notate performance details.
These markings are incredibly convenient for us when writing music in MusicBox.
Indeed. MusicBox translates these simple symbols into proper Lillipon commands.
Oh? And what about MIDI playback?
MusicBox is quite smart about that. It dispatches MIDI events to multiple tracks, each corresponding to a different articulation.
So we get both a good MIDI file and a proper Lillipon score from the same code.
Exactly. This approach ensures consistency between what we hear and what we see in the score.
It's a wonderful tool for both learning and composing. The articulations really bring the music to life.
Now, folks, it's time to look at the score.
I agree. Now that we've discussed the elements of the B5 theme, let's take a closer look at the actual score.
As you read through it, notice the multiple chord tones in each measure. They will be harmonized with a single chord.
Pay attention to the rhythmic variation, especially the dotted notes, which add subtle yet significant changes to the flow of the melody.
Observe how the half cadences create a sense of anticipation. Now let's have a listen. Our expressive violin will take care of it.
Oh, wasn't that beautiful? Hearing B5 played by an expressive violin was truly moving.
Absolutely. The violin's rich tone really brought out the emotional depth of the minor key.
Indeed. The instrument's ability to sustain notes highlighted the multiple chord tones in each measure.
And did you notice how the violinist used vibrato to emphasize those half cadences? It really accentuated the tension.
The 3/4 time signature felt so natural on the violin, giving it that lovely lilting quality.
Yes, and the dotted notes added such a wonderful sense of ebb and flow to the rhythm.
The virtual violinist's bowing technique really brought out the contrast between the legato phrases and the more articulated notes.
It's amazing how a virtual instrument can bring a simple theme to life like that. It makes me eager to hear how we'll harmonize it.
Let's start harmonizing B5 with block chords using our MusicBox language.
We'll keep it simple with a 1-4-1-5 progression, played by a piano as usual.
Pay attention to how we emphasize the half cadences at measures 4 and 8.
This basic harmonization will give us a solid foundation to build upon.
Now, let's take a look at the actual score of our block chord harmonization.
And even better, let's give it a listen.
Notice how the chords support the melody while maintaining a steady rhythm.
It's simple, yet effective. The half cadences really stand out, don't they?
I feel like something's missing with B5. Any suggestions?
Have you considered using arpeggios instead of block chords for harmonization?
Ooh, that could add a lovely flowing quality to the piece.
Arpeggios? Isn't that just complicating things unnecessarily?
Let's break down what an arpeggio is and how it differs from block chords.
I see. So instead of playing all the chord tones at once, I'd spread them out?
Exactly. It can create a more dynamic and engaging sound.
I suppose it could add some interesting movement to the harmonic structure.
Precisely. So, how do you think arpeggios can transform the B5 theme?
They create flowing accompaniment.
They enhance melodic interplay.
They add rhythmic interest.
Precisely. Let's explore how this might enhance the B5 theme. There are various arpeggio patterns we can use to harmonize the B5 theme.
How do I choose which pattern to use?
Consider the emotional quality you want to convey. Ascending patterns can feel uplifting, while descending ones might be more reflective.
You could also alternate patterns to create contrast between sections.
Don't forget to experiment. Sometimes unexpected combinations yield the most interesting results.
Let's not overlook the rhythmic possibilities arpeggios offer.
I'm starting to see how versatile this technique can be.
Exactly. You can adapt it to suit various moods and styles.
Remember, the goal is to enhance the B5 theme, not overshadow it.
Now, can you apply what we've discussed to our composition, Siegfried?
Of course. The easiest thing that comes to my mind is to transform our SATB voices into an ascending and descending 8-note pattern.
What about using a harp instead of piano to accompany the melody? It seems to me the most logical choice for arpeggiating our chords.
Exactly. Let's start from octave 2 and transform the 4 SATB voices into a single line. Let's look at the score now. There it is. Shall we have a listen together?
Beautiful work, Siegfried. The arpeggios really bring out the theme's grace.
I love how it adds movement without overpowering the melody.
Well done. You've maintained the theme's integrity while adding depth.
Thank you all. This technique has opened up a whole new world of possibilities.
As we conclude our exploration of harmonizing the B4 and B5 themes, let's review the key techniques we've discovered. We've seen how harmonizing multiple chord tones in the melody with the same chord can create a sense of stability and cohesion. In both B4 and B5, this technique allowed us to establish a strong harmonic foundation.
Yes, and I noticed how it made the melodies feel more grounded. It's amazing how a single chord can support several melodic notes.
I particularly enjoyed exploring the different accompaniment styles. The contrast between block chords, broken chords, and arpeggios really showcase the versatility of our harmonic approach.
Indeed. The block chords in B4 provided a solid, almost majestic quality, while the arpeggios in B5 added a flowing, more delicate texture. It's crucial to choose the right style to complement the melody's character.
Let's not forget how we experimented with broken chords in both themes. They offered a middle ground between the stability of block chords and the fluidity of arpeggios.
I found it interesting how the choice of accompaniment style could dramatically change the feel of the piece. Could you elaborate on that, Odile?
Absolutely. Block chords can create a sense of power and finality, perfect for climactic moments or strong statements. Broken chords add movement while maintaining a clear harmonic structure. Arpeggios, as we saw in B5, can create a dreamy, ethereal quality that's perfect for more emotional or introspective passages.
The way these techniques interplayed with our orchestration choices was particularly noteworthy. Using different instruments for each approach really brought out their unique qualities. Speaking of orchestration, our exploration of various instruments gave us a taste of the vast possibilities in scoring. Care to share your thoughts on this, Odette?
Gladly. In B4, woodwinds offered agility for both block and broken chord patterns.
Don't forget the harp. Its natural affinity for arpeggios made it perfect for some of the more delicate passages in B5.
And the piano served as a wonderful all-rounder, capable of handling block chords and broken chords with equal proficiency in both themes.
Before we wrap up, I'd like to emphasize how these techniques aren't just academic exercises. They're powerful tools for expressing emotion and bringing your musical ideas to life.
Absolutely. I feel like I've gained a whole new palette of colors to paint with, musically speaking. The interplay between harmony, accompaniment style, and orchestration opens up so many possibilities.
Remember, the key is to experiment. Don't be afraid to mix and match these techniques. Sometimes the most interesting results come from unexpected combinations.
And while mastery takes time, the journey of discovery is immensely rewarding. I encourage all our viewers to apply these concepts to their own compositions.
We hope this exploration of B4 and B5 has been as enlightening for you as it has been for us. There's so much more to discover in the world of composition.
If you've enjoyed this score talk and found it helpful, please consider supporting our endeavor. You can find support links in the video description. Your contributions help us continue creating educational content.
That's right. Why not buy us a coffee? It fuels our creative discussions and keeps Rothbart from getting too grumpy.
I resent that remark. But yes, your support is greatly appreciated and helps us delve deeper into these fascinating compositional techniques.
Thank you all for joining us on this harmonious journey through B4 and B5.
We've only scratched the surface of compositional techniques. There's so much more to explore.
Speaking of which, you won't want to miss our next score talk. We're diving into some spicy harmonic territory.
Indeed. Join us next time as we unravel the mysteries of supertonic and submedian harmonization. It's sure to add some unexpected twists to your compositions.
Farewell, dear composers. Stay tuned for our next harmonic adventure.